Hare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giribaradhare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giribaradhare. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giribaradhare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giribaradhare. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Mishtvad, Paramahansa, Paravajakacharya, Stanisasi Smad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON's founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Ki. Sri Giri Govardhan Ki. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Sri Sri Radha Damodar Ki. Sri Sri Yashoda Damodar Ki. Kartik Vrata Ki. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So devotees, this morning we are going to go through the Krishna book, Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 60 talks between Krishna and Rukmini. This is a very interesting chapter, really quite extraordinary chapter, in which Lord Krishna, there's like a sequence of things which happens. First is Lord Krishna is sort of trying to test Rukmini, to really examine her consciousness and her attitude towards him. He has the idea, at least it's said that he has the idea that she, if he challenges her by sort of, you might say, criticizing himself in certain ways and criticizing their relationship, and in this way sort of criticizing her, not exactly criticizing her, but challenging their relationship, then Krishna is thinking that, at least the way it's described here, that as between husband and wife from time to time, there are some little arguments, which are not really arguments, but they're sort of like arguments, in which one of the parties says something, and like what you could say in this particular example, actually, Krishna might say, criticizing himself, that, I'm just a butter thief, And if it was, it would depend which wife, but particularly if it was Satyabhama, she would say, yes, you are. You're just a thief. But not Rukmini. Her attitude is very different. She is very submissive and very humble. And she basically would never, or hardly ever, perhaps never, challenge Krishna like that. If Krishna said that he was, I am just a thief, then Rukmini would respond more or less like, no, you're not. No, you're very glorious. Something like that. So first of all, then, Lord Krishna presents himself like that, and then glorifies her as being on a higher level than him, and then criticizes himself further, and like this. And then, anyway, we'll go through it step by step, but this is what's going to unfold. And then she responds, countering basically every single point he has made. Not just some general sort of statement that, no, you're not like that, you're just great. But every specific statement, there's like quite a number of them, challenging his own position and their relationship, and saying that even she should just divorce him or just leave him and go find some more qualified person, like a real member of the royal order. So she defeats all these points one by one. And then when she's finished with that, then in the later part of the chapter, Krishna expresses his appreciation for her attitude and what she said. He really appreciates it just tremendously. So that's what we're going to be going through, devotees. First of all, let us chant some prayers. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyatya Dejatarane Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And in fact, at the end of the chapter, at the end of the exchange, then Lord Krishna says, very amazing thing, that your love for me is so great, I don't know how to reciprocate. Which he actually said more or less to the gopis in a kind of similar situation, actually. Somewhat similar. Yes. So, in other words, he views her as being just extremely qualified as a devotee and having just very, very deep love for him. So anyway, let us go through step by step. Of course we can't read the entire chapter, but we will focus on the particular points which are made as the discussions develop. So first of all, Prabhupada makes the point that what is the situation, what is the scene, what's going on? That Lord Krishna is visiting Rukmini in her palace, and he is sitting in Rukmini's bedroom, and Rukmini is engaged along with different of her maid servants in serving Krishna. And anyway, it doesn't exactly say what she was doing. But she was serving him, but the maid servants were fanning him with chamaras. Then their relationship, Prabhupada says, was as Lord Krishna's dealings with Rukmini as a perfect husband are a perfect manifestation of the supreme perfection of the personality of Godhead. 3 times he's saying, perfect, 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 perfect husband, perfect manifestation of the perfection, supreme perfection of the Lord. Yes, right. So he comes by his own sweet will and he doesn't need the help of anyone to come to this world. So there he is with Rukmini sitting in her bedroom and he was sitting on the bedstead, basically means he was sitting on the bed of Rukmini in her palace, which was just incredibly beautiful, just basically unimaginably beautiful, particularly for people like us with our standards. We may have a bed. In the past we used not to have beds, actually. We just sleep directly on the floor, at least in a sleeping bag, no mattress, nothing, no pillow. But now the times have changed, we have beds. So her bed, sure, our bed may be a very nice one from IKEA. We have IKEA here, do we? Mysteries. Yeah, the pine furniture people, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's us. Yeah. So she wanted to serve Krishna, so she took the chamara from one of the maidservants and she began to fan Krishna with this chamara, the handle of which was made of gold, means not gold plated, but solid gold, bedecked with valuable jewels. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Yeah, and it's interesting, Prabhupada says that the handle was so beautiful, but it became more beautiful when Rukmini took it, because all of her fingers were beautiful and were beautifully set with jeweled rings. And I won't go into all the details there. Let's get into the discussion. So what had happened before? Well, just as some background information, Rukmini is Chandravali in Vrindavan Leela. And in Vrindavan Leela, as Chandravali, she is second to Srimati Radharani. But then she came over on the sort of Dwaraka side, was married to Krishna, and it's a bit of a long story how it all worked, but she then, by the arrangement of her father, when she was offered to Krishna as a wife, then he said, she must now be your main wife, and you may not marry any other wife unless she gives her permission. So in other words, she is now in the higher position, at least in a technical sense, higher than Satyabhama, who is actually Srimati Radharani. And even, we mentioned a few weeks ago, she's not just like an expansion or something like that of Radharani. She is actually her in person. So Krishna is thinking that in the past, in the recent past, he got a parijata flower. Well, actually, Narada Muni got a parijata flower from Indraloka and offered it to Rukmini, and then Satyabhama became completely transcendently envious. And she wanted one too. In fact, she became so affected by that situation transcendentally that Krishna felt that in order to pacify her, I have to go there to that place, Indraloka, and get the whole tree and bring it back. So he did. So these types of interactions were going on. And sometimes one wife would become upset with one of the others, or with Krishna for perhaps apparently favoring one, but not Rukmini. She would never do that. Whatever Krishna did, she would accept. And even if, it appeared that she wasn't happy, but she was, kind of forcing herself to accept, but she would always accept. And Krishna noticed that. So then Krishna wanted to see that, is it possible to actually agitate her mind? Or is she just, whatever I say or do, is she just going to be cool, calm, and collected? Something along those lines. So therefore he began this rather remarkable discussion, which begins by him saying, well, let me just read a couple of sentences. So Krishna would create a particular situation between himself and a wife, in which the wife would criticize him, as we mentioned, in the irritation of love, and Krishna would enjoy this. In this case, because Krishna could not find any fault with Rukmini, because she was very grave, like very sober and self-controlled, and always engaged in his service, he smilingly, in great love, began to speak to her just to provoke her loving anger. Yes. So first thing Krishna did was not to address him as his wife or just as Rukmini, but addressed her as princess, because she is a princess, daughter of Bhishmaka, who's a powerful king. So Krishna says, my dear princess, it's so surprising that there are so many of these qualified, well-behaved, learned, famous, beautiful, opulent, rich, liberal, very powerful, and advanced in every respect kings and princes who really wanted to marry you. No, I mean, they really wanted to marry her. They were just like obsessed. So Krishna tells her, they were not unfit in any way, none of them. And on top of that, your father and brother, Rukmi, a real character, they didn't object to you marrying any one of these gentlemen who had assembled there. So anyway, but then by the request or sort of order of your brother Rukmi, it was arranged that you'd be married to Shishupal. And both your parents agreed. And Shishupal was so great and so lusty and mad after your beauty that if he had married you, Krishna says, I think he would have always remained with you, just like your faithful servant. wife das, that sort of position, just always running around and doing whatever she requested. I saw one little, like sort of very short little comedy type thing between a husband and a wife, and he tells his wife that I had a friend named Jason, but then he got married and his name was changed. Then he became Jason. Do you get the idea? He's no longer Jason. He was Jason. What are you doing, Jason? So Krishna says, compared to Shishupal, with all his qualities, I'm just nothing. And you can understand that. I'm just so surprised that you rejected him and accepted me who is inferior in every respect to him. Yeah, I think Krishna said, I think I'm just unqualified completely to be your husband because you're so beautiful, sober, grave, exalted. So let me just ask you, why did you accept me? Yeah. Because now I can address you as my wife, that's okay. But still I have to be honest and tell you what my actual position is. I'm inferior to all those princes. And I'm going to prove it. Because princes, they're Kshatriyas, they're very brave. They're never frightened to fight even against a whole number of opponents. But look at me, Krishna says. When Jarasandha attacked me, I ran, I fled, and I built a palace or a fort in the sea just to protect me. Just look at that. See, I'm not heroic. I'm not really a Kshatriya. I'm no hero. I'm a coward. I'm afraid of my enemies. Yes, and here I am. I'm sitting here as a member of the royal family in Dwaraka. But, what is my position? I only got my position by killing my uncle. What sort of person kills his uncle? I killed my uncle Kamsa. But otherwise, there was no question of me becoming the king or even just a member of the royal family. Yeah, everyone expected I would follow in the footsteps of my father, Nanda Maharaj, and just be a cowherd for the rest of my life. But just because I was materially attached, I became attracted to the idea of becoming a prince. I wanted to become a famous prince. But still I couldn't have any kingdom. I couldn't rule. Anyway, people are bewildered about me. What am I? Am I a prince in Dwaraka? Or am I a cowherd boy in Vrindavan? Nobody knows. There's this whole dilemma. Who is this Krishna actually? Yeah. So, because I have no fixed aim in life, people call me a vagabond. Therefore, I'm surprised that you could select such a vagabond husband. And Krishna continues, I'm not polished in social etiquette and behavior. Generally a person like Lord Ram. He was famous for his Ekapatni Vrata, but I couldn't do that. I got more than 16,000 wives. And how am I meant to please 16,000 wives? I'm not capable of it. So you just see my behavior. I'm just so unqualified and not nice. I'm a village boy. I just know how to interact as village people do. And there, of course, I had so many friends, and there were all these young ladies, the gopis, who were very much attached to me. But just see my character. I just abandoned them all. Just because I wanted to become a prince, I abandoned them all. What is my character? Yes. So what is my behavior? You can very easily understand that I have no steadiness of character. I'm not a very reliable husband. The net result, the ultimate result of being attracted to me is to acquire a life of bereavement only. And you should also know, I am penniless. I am a pauper. When I was born, I was taken penniless across the river to the house of Nanda Maharaj. There I was raised as a cowherd boy. And my foster father, like stepfather, had hundreds of thousands of cows, but I had none. I used to just take out his cows. I didn't have a single cow. So here also, I'm not a proprietor of anything. I'm just living here because the king is nice to me. That's all, because he's a nice person. But I have no claim to be in a palace and part of the whole royal situation. Yes. And he says, only, you must note that my devotees are also penniless. My devotees are also not opulent. They're very poor in worldly goods. And just see, people who are rich, wealthy people, they're not interested in me. They're not interested in becoming my devotees. It's only the poor people. When someone becomes penniless and his whole life he has so many problems, then such a person becomes interested in me and may become my devotee. But all the good people, the people of substance with money, they just don't bother with me. So in other words, the poorer class of men may have some interest in me, but rich men have no interest. So therefore your selecting me was not very intelligent. You seem intelligent, but ultimately you made a great mistake in selecting your life's companion. So Rukmini is just there, and she's not saying anything. She's just there, listening. But then Krishna says, no problem. I have a solution. The problem can be rectified. Better late than never, because already Rukmini has 10 children. So under sort of normal, sometimes it happens that in the marriage ceremony, I know 2 cases personally, where the wife just suddenly decided, no, that's it, I'm not going to do this, and just walked out in the middle of the ceremony. Yeah. But now there's at least 10 children there. So it's a bit late to change your mind. Yeah. So better late than never. You are at liberty to select a suitable husband who's actually equal to you in opulence, family, tradition, culture, beauty, education, wealth in all respects, And the mistakes you've made, they can be all forgotten. And you can chalk out a new path, a proper path in life. Yes. Yeah, you mistakenly heard about my having exalted character. Although factually I was nothing more than a beggar. So in other words, he's proposing to Rukmini, just divorce me and just don't worry about it. Just go for it and do something positive for yourself. Right. So Prabhupada says, to Rukmini, every one of Krishna's proposals appeared crazy. And she was surprised that Krishna could say such things. But simple as she was, her anxiety was increasing more and more at the thought of separation from Krishna. So he goes on about this, how all these princes and the royal order, Shishupal, your brother Rukmi and company, they hate me. From the cause of their hearts, they hate me. Yes, sounds like the Rolling Stones. Are you a Rolling Stones fan? A secret Rolling Stones fan. And then Krishna says, on top of that, I'm not really interested in family life, actually. I'm happy just to be with my devotees. I'm interested in self-realization. That gives me pleasure, and not this family life. And then Krishna stopped. Yes. So Prabhupada makes the point that Shukadeva Goswami in the Bhagavatam makes the point that Krishna was almost always with Rukmini, actually. And as a result, Rukmini was a bit proud to have a husband like this, to be the main wife. And so Prabhupada says, Krishna, however, does not like any of his devotees to be proud. As soon as a devotee becomes so, by some tactic, Krishna cuts down that pride. So this is what he's doing now. So Rukmini, she knows who Krishna is. It's not like in Vrindavan where he's just one of the cowherd boys, like the most special, but still, he's basically just one of the cowherd boys. She knows he is the Lord. And now hearing such harsh words, she became perplexed. Her heart began to palpitate. She started just crying, silently scratched the floor with her toenails, and holding her head down. And gradually she became more and more and more and more overwhelmed. And the chamara fell from her hand, and she lost consciousness. And she fell down straight like a banana tree cut down by a whirlwind, not sort of crumbling down, but straight, bang. Yeah. Danda vat, danda meaning rod or stick, vat meaning like. Yeah. Generally, when we offer dandavats, at least the men particularly, we sort of, make our way down gradually. It's a gradual process, particularly when you're a bit older. But I remember once in Bhaktivedanta Mana, one devotee got this idea that, it's meant to be dandavat. Dandavat, like a stick, like a rod. And that day or the next day, I was offering my obeisances, and suddenly right next to me, crash! He did it once, I think maybe twice, but he hurt himself. So that was the end of that program. But she collapsed like that, just spontaneously. So then Krishna got down from the bedstead, lifted her up, placed his cooling hands on her face, smoothed the scattered hair on her head, dried her tears, embraced her to his chest. So, anyway, then Krishna gives a sort of, starts making, you could almost say, some excuses. Don't misunderstand me. Don't you be unkind to me, Krishna says. I know you're sincerely attached to me. I just wanted to irritate you a little. And I was expecting you to make some counter answers, to counteract. But no, you've taken my words very seriously, and I'm very sorry for that. I expected that your red lips would tremble in anger when you heard my statements, and then you'd chastise me. I didn't expect you to do like this. So he says that, us householders, we're busy during the day. When we get together late in the day, we have exchanges, joking words, husband and wife. So please, don't take it so seriously. So it's just a little brief statement Krishna makes. Then Rukmini starts responding, actually. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. So, she begins by saying, she began to look at his face very cheerfully, with her naturally smiling face, and first thing she said, actually, your statement that we're not a fit combination is completely right. How can I come to an equal level with you because you're the unlimited Supreme Lord? There's no possible comparison that could be made between me and you. Yes, even between demigods like Brahma and Shiva and you. And what to speak of me? I'm just a product of the modes of nature. So I could never be a fit match for you. Yeah. And all these kings and princes that you talked about, they're also under the three modes. And so that none of them were suitable for me, for any devotee woman. But you are the ultimate Supreme Lord. And therefore, my having the good fortune of being married to me, what good fortune that is. And you said that, you say that there's always enmity between you and people like Rukmi, Jarasandha, and company. But actually, who are the worldly kings? They're the senses. Yes. And certainly you maintain enmity with the material senses, and you're never under their control. Rather, you control them. And you say that you're bereft of royal power. That's also true. Yes. And not only are you bereft of supremacy over the material world, but even your servants who are attached to your lotus feet give up any supremacy over the material world because they know it's just the darkest region. Yes. So your servants don't like material supremacy, and what to speak of you? Yes. And you say that you don't act like an ordinary person with like a real aim in material life. That's also perfectly correct. And even your devotees, they're like that. Yes. So therefore human society considers the devotees crazy and cynical. And cynical too, yeah. Their aim of life is a mystery to the common people. And your aim in life also is a mystery to them. Yes. So, and what need do you have? You say you're penniless, but this condition is not poverty. Since there's nothing in existence except you, you don't need to possess anything because you are everything. So unlike others, you don't have to purchase something to become opulent and impressive. Yes. So because you're absolute, there's no question of you possessing anything, but still no one is richer than you. Yes. But even though you don't possess anything, the great demigods worship you and pray to you for their mercy. Even Lakshmi, who people pray to for opulence, she is praying to you and serving you, and she is so humbled by you, she'll come no closer to you than your lotus feet. That's all. Yes. And you say that the rich people don't worship you. That's right, because they're puffed up with material possessions. So who needs people like that? You're better off without them. And if there's a poor person who becomes rich, he makes a program for sense gratification due to ignorance and neglects you. So, but your devotee renounces everything and wants to possess you only. This I've seen in Narada Muni. He doesn't possess anything, but he's still very dear to you, and you are dear to him. Such people don't care for anything but you. So you said that a marriage between people who are equal in social standing, beauty, opulence, strength, etc., this can be a suitable match. But this status of life is only possible by your mercy. Yes. If someone is opulent, beautiful, etc., they have got all this from you only. Yes. But the devotees who have real knowledge achieve your favor by giving up everything, even the transcendental realization of Brahman, and they accept you as the goal of their lives. You have stated that only beggars glorify you, and that is perfectly correct. But who are those beggars? They're all exalted devotees, liberated people in the renounced order of life, great souls. And these great souls, they're such amazing people that they forgive even the worst offenders. And they just carry out their program of service to you, tolerating all the difficulties of this world. So, my dear husband, I do not think that I've accepted you as my husband out of my inexperience or foolishness. Actually, I followed all these great souls. I followed the path of all these beggars and decided to surrender my life unto your lotus feet. Yes, so she goes on. Wow, it's amazing. You say that you took shelter of the water of the ocean out of fear, but my experience with you contradicts that. I saw that you kidnapped me forcibly in the presence of all the princes, and then you drove away all those princes just by one jerk of the string of your bow, just drove them away. Just like a lion takes its share of hunted booty, driving away all small animals in the twinkling of an eye. Yes. So, my Lord, I don't understand your statement that women and other people who have taken shelter of you pass their days in bereavement. Because we see that great princes, kings like Anga, Prithu, Bharat, Yayati, Gaya, they were emperors of the whole world. But in order to get the favor of your lotus feet, they renounced their positions and went to the forest to achieve you. So, does that mean they were lamenting, they were in bereavement? No. So anyway, basically, she's just countering everything. Yes. Yes. Listen to this, is a really good one. You say that I should have selected a prince like Shishupal, Jarasandha, or Dantavakra, but what are they? They're just engaged in hard labor to maintain household life, just like the bulls working day and night with an oil pressing machine. They're compared to asses. They're always dishonored like dogs, and they're miserly like cats. Yes. So a person who understands you will not accept anyone except you as her husband, because a man in this material world is just a dead body. The living entity is covered by this body, which is nothing but a bag of skin decorated with a beard and mustache. Hairs on the body, nails on the fingers, hairs on the head. Within this decorated bag are bunches of muscles, bundles of bones, and pools of blood always mixed with stool, urine, mucus, bile, and polluted air, and enjoyed by different kinds of insects and germs. A foolish woman accepts such a dead body as her husband. Yes. And this is possible only because such a woman has never relished the ever blissful fragrance of your lotus feet. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? Sure. Couldn't get much more powerful than that. So, yes. So she concludes, my dear lotus-eyed husband, you are self-satisfied. You don't care whether I'm beautiful or qualified or not. You're not concerned about that. Therefore, your non-attachment for me is not at all astonishing. It's quite natural. You cannot be attached to any woman, however exalted her position and beauty. Yes. Whether you're attached to me or not, may my devotion and attention be always engaged at your lotus feet. Yes. Whenever you glance on me, I accept it as the greatest boon of my life. I am ambitious only for such auspicious moments. So then Krishna responds, my dear chaste wife, my dear princess, I expected such an explanation from you, and only for this purpose did I speak all those joking words, so that you might be clear, so that you might be cheated of the real point of view. Now my purpose has been served. Yes. O most beautiful Rukmini, you are my dearmost wife. I'm greatly pleased to understand how much love you have for me. Please take it for granted that no matter what ambition and desire you might have, and no matter what you might expect from me, I'm always at your service. Yes. So like this, he glorifies her. That, let me just see. Anyway, at some point here, yes. My dear honored wife, although I have thousands of wives, I do not think that any one of them can love me more than you. Yes. So you have purchased me for all time. I've come eternally under your control. Yes. As far as I'm concerned, it is not within my power to repay you for your unalloyed devotion to me. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna book ki jai. Any comment, question? Jai Sachinandan Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. You're so absorbing, captivating us. As you're speaking, I was trying to figure out what type of ras was prevailing, whether it was like Rupa Goswami speaks of the different types of ras in the nectar of devotion. Was there overlap of ras of...
Overlapping. Yeah? Well, in her case, there's an overlapping of conjugal and servitude rasas, basically. And, you know, a lot of the time, she's very absorbed in, like, activities of servitude, serving Krishna as her husband. But still, it's all in the attitude. I mean, there's an underlying attitude of conjugal love. Am I addressing your point?
Yes, sometimes there's some mood of challenge also in that.
Mood of charity.
Challenging.
Challenge. Oh, in the conjugal, yeah. But she's less conjugal than the gopis, for example.
Yeah.
They would challenge Krishna and chastise him, actually. They do chastise him from time to time. And he really likes it because it adds spice. Who wants a dull relationship? But still, it's not that he doesn't appreciate someone like Rukmini, who's very sincere, very humble, and really in a mood of service. And you can see her realizations, her understandings of Krishna, her realizations are just, they're really first class. And even though it was a very emotional experience for her initially, or like for the first half of it all, then she very quickly retained her position as his pure devotee. She didn't have a nervous breakdown or just, become traumatized on an ongoing basis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.